Hello, my fellow Houstonians, and welcome to this Houston Sports State of the Union podcast, press briefing for the Houston Texans. Today, we are going to answer the question, is there hope for the Houston Texans? Can they salvage their season after starting 1-3, disappointing start, losing their first 3 games, and then a little bit of hope, a little bit of life after finally beating the Tennessee Titans 26-0? First thing I want to do is thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. If you have not done so yet, please subscribe to the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, make sure you don't miss anything. I am definitely back on track with getting as much content out there as possible for all of your Houston sports teams. I'm going to leave my link tree in the description so you can find where to follow, where to subscribe, and where to find all of my content. First thing I want to do is give a little bit of an overview for the Tennessee Titans game. The offense started out slow and it was frustrating. CJ Stroud was not good. I counted 3 different drives where it felt to me as if he killed the drive that could have been a touchdown scoring drive, whether it have been from holding onto the ball too long, making bad decisions, or missing wide open players. For example, Dalton Schultz on the seam had a wide open chance for a touchdown and CJ just missed him. So I was very critical of him in that first half. The offensive line wasn't great. However, CJ Stroud was only pressured less than 30% of the time, which is a vast change from what he dealt with last season, where he was in the mid to sometimes upper 40s getting pressured. And the offensive line has slowly but surely gotten a little better, keeping pressure off of him. Jeffrey Simmons, he was feasting early, of course. He's going to do that. He's a great player. But overall, I felt like the offensive line played pretty well. They were decent. The defense gave up a couple of explosive plays, but they kept the Titans off the scoreboard. That's all you can really ask for. What I want to talk about is the Houston Texans offense, though. Once again, in the first half, they found themselves behind schedule often. The offense, however, was sparked with about 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. It was a 2nd and 33 conversion by CJ Stroud on a perfect throw to Nico Collins down the sideline. If it had been, I say it's a perfect throw. It could have been a little bit more perfect, because if he hits him in stride and brings him a little bit towards the inbound line, he might have scored a touchdown on that play. But beggars cannot be choosers. From that moment on, it really sparked the offense. CJ was 3 of 3 on that drive, if I'm not mistaken. But the Texans didn't get into the red zone until 17 seconds left to go in the third quarter. But from that moment, the first play of the fourth quarter was a pass to Woody Marks in the flat. He scores the first touchdown of his career. And I saw CJ Stroud look happy for the first time all season. We saw him pumped up. We saw him fired up. We saw D'Amico Ryans pumping the fist on the sideline. And CJ ended up having a really good game, even with that bad start. He was 22 of 38. That's 78.6 completion percentage. He had 233 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a 125.1 rating. By far his best game of the season. And he looked a lot like rookie CJ Stroud. I think what's happening, and shout out to my man Ruben of the Twin Toros podcast, my co-host, who pointed this out. I think the clock in CJ's head is still rushed because of how bad his offensive line has been the last 2 seasons. But once again, he was only pressured less than 30% of the time. He's not used to that. So I think once he realizes, okay, I think this offensive line is protecting me a little bit, he's going to continue to play well. Because in my mind, he's still that guy. He's still a very accurate quarterback, and I think he's a smart quarterback. He's just turning into David Carr in front of our eyes because he's getting hit so much. But if he can start to trust this offensive line, then I think this offense really has a chance to at least look like a respectable NFL offense, which it hasn't the first 3 games, but it did. Even in the moments where they weren't scoring touchdowns, they were moving the ball at times, and they limited their penalties to I think they only had 6 for like 50 yards, which for them is good. They need to do better, but for the Texans, that's pretty good. Woody Marks, to me, was the offensive player of the game. Rushing the ball, he had 17 attempts, 69 yards, 4.1 yards per carry, a touchdown, and then receiving, he got 5 receptions for 50 yards, 12.5 per catch with a touchdown. Once again, just efficient offense. And credit to my man Ruben again. He has been saying, get these young guys in the game. You drafted Woody Marks. You drafted Jaden Higgins. You drafted Jalen Noel because you felt like they were playmakers, day one impact players. And Woody Marks got the most touches that he's had all season, and he ended up being, once again, in my opinion, the offensive player of the game. Nico Collins had a pretty good game too. 4 receptions, 79 yards, 19.8 average, the 37-yard second and 33 conversion. That was his long of the game. Once again, a little bit better of a throw by CJ. He probably goes to the house on that one. But like I said, we're not going to nitpick because the Texans are on the board and they have a win. And yes, it was against the lowly Titans, but you got to start somewhere. The good news for the Texans is their next opponent, the Baltimore Ravens. Even though the Ravens have owned them throughout the history of the franchise, the Ravens defense is not the 2000 defense. You know, Ray Lewis and Suggs are not on this team anymore. The Ravens offense, especially their secondary, they've given up 6 touchdowns and a 105 rating to wide receivers already. So if I'm Nico Collins, I love hearing that. I am feasting at the opportunity to catch some balls against the secondary and hopefully find his way into the end zone. They're just not good. I believe they have the worst defense in the league the last I checked. It was the worst going into the Chiefs game, and the Chiefs absolutely destroyed them. So it's hard for me to believe that it got any better. And as of late, listen, man, the offensive line, once again, keeping pressure off of Stroud, got the run game going a little bit. The Ravens are giving up 4.9 a run already, and their defense is not good. Now, even though the Texans have lost 6 in a row to the Ravens, and they are only 13-2 all time, the best news we've received so far is that Lamar Jackson may not play.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
Yes, there is a chance. Here's the thing. I think they have a chance with Lamar Jackson. But you're telling me he's not playing and this defense is terrible and their running game is not what it used to be? Both teams are 1-3, and here's the deal. Only 7% of teams that have gone 1-4 have made the playoffs, and these are both teams that had playoff aspirations coming to this game. So even if Lamar doesn't play, it's going to be a dogfight. But I'll take my chances against Cooper Rush if I don't have to face Lamar Jackson. Listen, if the O-line continues to keep pressure off of CJ Stroud, if CJ starts to realize, hey, I'm not getting pressured as much, and he fixes his internal clock, if the Texans can run the ball and dominate time of possession, and I'm going to be honest, if Lamar Jackson is not 100%, 5, if the football gods are shining upon us, then I actually am going to pick the Houston Texans to go on the road and beat the Baltimore Ravens. And the reason I'm doing so is because I honestly don't think Lamar Jackson is going to play. They're predicting he's going to be out at least 3 weeks. I know he probably wants to play because their season is on the line already, just like the Texans. But if he doesn't play, I'm going to pick them to win 23-17. That's going to be my prediction. If he does play, let's not even worry about that. I'm going to go ahead and say the Texans win this game 23-17. I'm not going to think about the quarterback situation because the Texans' season is on the line. They know they have to win this game. And honestly, I don't want to talk about the draft next week. So, Texans 23, Ravens 17. Book it. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this Houston Sports State of the Union podcast press briefing for the Houston Texans. I'm going to see you guys in just a little while for the Houston Sports State of the Union podcast. In the meantime, I want you to stay 10 toes down for the H. I love you. Good night.